Hello and welcome to today's RateFast Speed Seminar on Fraud. My name's Dr. John Alchemy. Thanks for joining us. Today let's start with a couple of definitions. Fraud. What is it? It's a wrongful or criminal deception intended to result in financial or personal gain. Fraud also costs Californians billions of dollars every year. From time to time, the state will also issue fraud warnings to the stakeholders in the workers' compensation system. Who can commit fraud and what kind of fraud are they committing? The first comment is that a medical provider can commit fraud. Billing fraud, employing individuals to inappropriately solicit new patients, or unnecessary treatment or self-interested referrals. Failing to report a work injury is also a fraud for medical providers. Attorneys can commit fraud as well, facilitating a claimant that they know is a fraud, engaging in client solicitation that's inappropriate, or receiving a fee for referring a client to a medical provider. It's also fraud if an attorney is facilitating an employer to promote or engage in insurance fraud. Claims adjusters have been implicated in fraud, specifically by creating claims or payments to be generated for work injuries that don't exist. In some other instances, the adjuster may actually backdate a document to avoid paying a penalty. This is fraud. Fraud is a crime, and it's also a felony. Penalties may include up to $150,000 or possibly double the amount of the fraud, whichever is greater. If a person is convicted of fraud, they may also have to pay the costs of the investigation. The state wants to make sure with these warnings that everyone understands fraud is a serious problem. Next, let's talk about some nerd knowledge. First of all, workers' comp fraud is more than just an employee faking an injury. And as we mentioned before, fraud can be caused by anyone who is a stakeholder in the workers' compensation place. Finally, let's do a problem solving. Here's the scenario. An employer brings in an employee who has a laceration on their arm. The medical doctor does the evaluation and determines that sutures are needed to close the wound. This means that the injury will count as a recordable injury to the insurance carrier. The employer asks the doctor to use butterfly tape and not sutures so it can be first aid and not count as a recordable injury. The doctor complies. Question: has fraud occurred? Answer: yes. The employer has asked for an alteration in the medical recommendation for personal gain, and the doctor has complied. Both have committed fraud. Thank you for joining us for today's Speed Seminar. To learn more about fraud or other topics that pertain to workers' compensation, please join us at rate-fast.com and click on our educational blog. Thank you.